Today, on Be Something Wonderful, how to master your inner authority and become unshakable. I am your host, Tom Karen, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of higher consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Creators, welcome back. I heard from one of you that said, Tom, ever since I became aware of manifesting and creating my own reality, things just seem to get worse. And I've just lost all my confidence. It just seems that the more I imagine my wish fulfilled, or the more I affirm, the worse things get. And I know you mentioned this in another video, but that's the experience that I'm having. My confidence is shattered. I'm feeling overwhelmed. I'm feeling disjointed. Before I discovered, I'm feeling more overwhelmed, hear this, and more disjointed than before I discovered manifesting. Hear what the subscriber is saying. And it says, I've lost all confidence. But here's the thing. Why is that? Because now you know too much. But that's something to celebrate, right? You're now aware, you're now conscious, you're no longer walking around asleep, unconsciously creating reality and unaware what you're creating. So there is a transition here, but it's going to be after this video today. It's going to be transparent. It's not even going to be a bump anymore, right? Because remember, you're a natural born creator. You're just now becoming aware of that. Before, you would create some good things and a lot of bad things, but you wouldn't be aware of it. Now you're aware of it. Now you're aware of that natural born gift, right? So really, what's causing this? Why do you feel disjointed? Why do you feel overwhelmed? Because you feel like it's all about techniques now, right? Where before you were creating naturally, right? The techniques were natural. The process was natural. And the reason that you attracted things that you didn't want is because you were unaware of it before. Right? So now you're going to be aware of it. Now you're going to be conscious, and now you're going to attract more of what you want, right? It's not about being perfect, and it's not about feeling happy all the time, right? Those are all bogus beliefs. That's not what we're talking about here. You already came here as a perfect soul. So you were already perfect. You came here to 3D, the 3D duality, the 3D world, to revel in the imperfection of duality. Hear this, that's what your soul didn't come here to be perfect, your soul already was perfect. It was to experience this duality. Otherwise, there'd be nothing to create or nothing to experience, right? 3D is the playground, right? With all its imperfection in time and space, that's where all the fun is. Hear this, right? So then you're asking Tom, well, what is reality creation then? What's it all about? What's it all about? It's becoming more aware and conscious of your inner authority and freedom to create your unique layer of the world. That's reality creation. Hear it again. It's not about the techniques. It's not about the process. It's not about affirming that I am great, that I am successful all the time. That could be part of it maybe, but it's not about feeling happy all the time and trying to control your thoughts and trying to control your feelings, right? And worrying about that you thought something negative or you did something negative. None of that. It's becoming aware within you of that natural inheritance, that God within you, your inner authority and your freedom to choose, to create your unique layer of the world, and then feeling that truth within. It's all about feeling it within, feeling it true to you. Let's really unpack this like we've never unpacked it before, because I've had questions on this. So it's less about creating and manifesting something, right? And it's more about tuning into that aspect of all that is, or infinity, that you desire to experience now. Right? Just like a television set doesn't create the channels. A radio doesn't create the frequencies. It's a transmitter, it's a receiver. It receives and transmits, right? That's what we're talking about here. All realities, all possibilities exist already. You choose with your attention and intention, right? Your intention to have something, your attention on something, right? Or on a wish, right? In other words, which reality to tune into and which realities to withdraw your attention from. Hear this. It's not only which realities that you want to tune into, but it's also the realities that you withdraw your attention from. Remember, a lot of times it's because we have our attention on things unwanted. Just like we're believing that we're disjointed or that things are worse. You're putting your attention on something that's unwanted, right? Once you feel this truth as you're knowing, the 3D world or the reality mirror will consolidate around this overall state of being. Hear this, that it's an overall knowing. And that hue, that image will remain there on the metaphysical side of the mirror. It will never leave you no matter what happens in 3D. You have a bad day, you have a good day, someone says something to you, you don't know how you attracted this. You can be sure that if you sit in this knowing, this truth, that you create, that you choose, that you are, that is God-given, then that hue will always be there. That rough image, that outline, let's call it an outline, will always be there. All you need to do is fill in the outline. Hear this, the outline of that truth of who you are. If you can believe that, if you move there, then that image on the other side of the mirror will be an outline that you just need to fill in with what you want. Wow, that's powerful, right? Remember, you look in the mirror and say, I'm invincible. I create my own reality. I choose it. I have that God power within. I was born that way. The mirror says, okay, you're right. That's your relationship with the mirror. But remember, the mirror always has a delayed reaction. So whatever happens in 3D, know there's a delay. That's the good news. So even if you react or something happens, there's a delayed reaction. You get a chance in that moment to turn it around before the image even starts consolidating around that reaction. Do you hear this? That's the good news, right? So let's unpack this a little bit more. The overwhelmed feeling comes from believing, hear this, you need to do something to make it happen. But you believe it's difficult to do or difficult to reach. You believe it's too hard. That's where the overall feeling. It comes from an inner feeling that I'm not worthy enough, that I'm not good enough, maybe I'm not qualified enough, maybe I can't create my own reality. And the outer focus of maybe it's too big of a desire, that the obstacles are too big in the 3D world, right? That's all about doubting yourself, right? You doubt yourself. You don't believe in your inner authority. You give all of that high importance. Maybe I'll fail. Maybe the obstacle's too big. Maybe the desire is too big. All that's importance, right? Once you move to trust, then you got it, right? You have the 3D world when you're doing this, when you're creating all this high importance, right? You have the 3D world in a death grip that drains your energy. It depletes your intention. Remember, your intention is what creates reality. Your attention and intention is creative, but it depletes your intention and you feel overwhelmed. That's what overwhelm means, right? You're just depleting your energy. That's where exhaustion comes from, right? Your energy of intention is all used up and you can no longer feel or move with that God power within. Here you are that's the world. See the head? That's the globe. You have it in the death grip. Right? The desire to change things and the importance grows stronger along with your grip in the 3D world. And as events come up that continue to show you the world mirror, right? You have the world mirror in your grip, shows you those things, saying, okay, you want to grab me by the throat? Let me show you more things you can grab by the throat. It confirms, it consolidates around that state. Right? Then you become more insecure. You place more importance. I can't fail. I have to have it at all costs. I can't have the worst case scenario happen. And then of course it happens, right? That all creates more insecurity, more lack of confidence, more guilt, more anxiety. All of that grows, right? Wow, that's powerful. So Vadim Zeland from Reality Transurfing, I'm going to leave a link below because one of you asked, and I forgot to leave a link, I think, on my last video, calls this the insecurity labyrinth. The insecurity labyrinth, he says, there's no way out. The more you seek and try to prove yourself, the more you try to prove yourself that you're worthy, the more you try to seek confidence, the more it escapes you, the more unworthy you feel, the more insecure you feel. The more you try to prove that you're not guilty, right? Or the more you justify yourself, the more guilty you feel, right? The more you try to prove your worth to others in the outside world, the more unworthy you feel. The more you try to acquire confidence and prove your confidence, the more insecure you feel. That's the insecurity labyrinth. There's no way out. Why? It's built by the walls of importance. The walls of importance get higher as you dig your way in. You feel trapped by the walls of importance, and you fight to find your way out, but you never can. There's no bottom. There's no end. There's no way out, but there is, and we're going to talk about this in a second, right? The inner importance of fear of failure, not good enough. You compare yourself to others, right? And the more you compare, the more unworthy you're going to feel, right? It's all an illusion. It's all just it's a delusion, right? It's an illusion and it's a delusion, right? It's all just a wall of mirrors. Right? The outer importance of thinking it's impossible to be or have it. That's the outer importance. Looking to the 3D world, right? That you feel it's intimidating or very challenging to get what you want. Either way, notice with these importance, inner or outer, it's still basing it on something external to yourself. Hear this. You're measuring it by something in the 3D world, right? There's no exit. There's no exit. There's no exit to leave. You can't find your way out that way. That's what Vadim Zeland says. But there is a way there is a way out of this, but it's not through the exit, because there is no exit, right? The secret, here's the secret, this is big, to the labyrinth is that the walls crumble. The walls of importance crumble when you give up looking for the exit and abandon importance. Wow! Hear this. When you give up looking for the exit means when you give up seeking to be worthy and just stand in your worthiness, right? When you give up looking to be worthy or trying to prove yourself, the world will agree that you're worthy, right? When you give up and just sit there, when you stop justifying yourself, the world will no longer think that you're guilty of anything. That's how it works. You abandon importance. You don't look for the exit anymore. The walls crumble. You're out of the labyrinth. Guys, that's big. So let's hit this a little bit more. The walls of the labyrinth grow taller as you resist, fight, and demand and insist. The walls of importance, right, keep you trapped in it as you resist, as you fight, as you demand, right? In other words, what's the answer? Release resistance. Release the importance, right? Stop justifying yourself. Stop proving yourself. Stop trying to improve yourself. Go to the improvement. Be who you already are, right? Stop trying to justify, improve, convince others, convince the world of your innate goodness, of your innate perfection, right? It's standing in that imperfection that makes you perfect. Standing in your own imperfection, as we all do, is what makes it perfect. Right? That's when your light shines, right? That's the paradox. To acquire self-confidence, you have to let go of wanting to acquire it. This is what Zeland says, Vadim Zeland. To acquire confidence, you have to let go of wanting to acquire it. That's the paradox. And then the walls of importance crumble when you stop trying to get it, right? Because remember, like belief, when you have to believe something, that leaves room for doubt. When you have confidence, that leaves room for it to be shaken. So we're talking about an inner confidence that can't be shaken, an inner state that never changes. That's different, right? That's true confidence. You're trying to get rid of your insecurity, which only makes you more insecure. Do you hear that? Remember, we talked about this. You can't get rid of anything, right? It's infinity. Where would you put it? This is what one spirit, there's nowhere to put it. You can't get rid of anything. It makes you more insecure, right? Belief always opens the door for doubt. So if you need to believe something, if you're struggling to believe something, that only opens the door for doubt. Instead, go to the knowing, right? Confidence can be shaken. Any unexpected, judged unfavorable event in 3D can knock you down and throw you through a loop of doubt and disbelief. When you're relying on, when everything comes from the outside world, whether it's inner confidence or whether it's obstacles in the outside world, you're pointing all your attention, all your measurement of who you are to the outer world. Wow, that's big. So let's unpack this a little bit more. So, whoa, that's getting away from me. Okay. Both confidence and insecurity depend on external conditions and outside circumstances to survive, right? Both of those, right? You might feel confident in one moment and then be shaken in the next moment, right? So when you bring awareness, hear this, awareness and intention to the forefront, with your freedom to choose what you want without struggle or fighting for it, the need for confidence makes no sense. You're now aligned with Source. You're now aligned with infinity. You're now aligned with your inner power, right? And this is what Vadim Zeland talks about. It's the strings of importance. You're like a puppet, right? Just like when you fight the script that's already been written, you're stuck in the script. Here, you're like a puppet, and when the strings are, when the 3D world or your importance loosens the strings, you struggle to tighten the strings again because you get insecure, right? It's like fighting the script that has been already written. You're being led about by importance. You're being led about by this outside, but you consider an outside force. And there is no outside force. It's you placing importance. It's your own inner struggle, right? Your belief that you can't choose your path or script or walk without help. Hear this, right? That keeps you like a puppet on a string, right? And you need those, and when the strings are tight and taut, you're walking fine. You feel okay. But as soon as those strings are loosened, you start getting insecure. You start getting your confidence shaken. The strings of importance. As soon as the strings are loosened, you start to jerk about and feel insecure. So then you try to tighten the strings, right? And that's the fault. That's what confidence is. That's what false confidence is. That's what false security is. Do you hear this, guys? You just got to drop the strings of importance. When you let the importance go, the walls of importance crumble. The labyrinth of insecurity crumbles, and you can see your way out because there are no walls. Wow, that's big. So you hold on, here it is. You hold on tightly to the strings of importance under the illusion of support and confidence, right? Those strings are tight, but it's an illusion. You're being led. You're being led by the script. You're being led by the outer world. You're being led by others, what they think, what they feel about you. All that is leading you on a path that is not your choice. You're fighting a script that you didn't choose, right? A lifeline that you don't want, right? And you're being led about it by the strings of importance, like a puppet, right? But here's your way out. So here's your way out. But as soon as you let go of the strings, you discover you can walk freely on your own and choose your desired reality without having to fight and struggle for it. The walls of the labyrinth crumble, right? Just like a little baby learning how to walk doesn't need the mother's hand anymore and realizes, hey, I can walk on my own. You can walk on your own. Those walls crumble. You discover you don't need to be led around like a puppet. You get to choose the power of intention, the power of choice, right? And here's what Vadim Zeland makes very clear. I love the way he talks about this. You just need coordination, right? After you drop the strings of importance, you might be a little shaky, but all you need now is coordination. Right? Coordination, what does that mean? To maintain your balance and keep yourself from falling. How do you do that? Well, remember, confidence is not needed. How do you do that? By choosing, right? By choosing what you want, setting the intention, then letting go of needing it or wanting it. In other words, don't place high importance on it, right? Then going with the flow of that inner power to lead you to everything you want. That's how you walk. That's how you coordinate without the strings of importance, without the false confidence, right? Needing to hold you up, right? Let go of trying to prove anything. To yourself or others. Let go of trying to be worthy. Right? That just makes you feel more unworthy. Let go of trying to be secure. That makes you feel more insecure. Let go of trying to get rid of guilt. That just makes you feel more guilty. Just stop justifying yourself. As Vadim Zeland says, just quietly walk out of the courtroom. Right? And then the others who are judging you will have nothing to judge anymore. You're in the courtroom saying, just judge me, because you're creating the inner state. Right? Just quiet. I love that. Like quietly walk out of the courtroom. Right? Let go of trying to improve yourself and go to the improvement. You're already there. Accept as a fundamental truth. This is big. This is big. Accept as a fundamental truth that you already are all that you want to be or improve. Wow. Do you hear the magnitude of what we're talking about here? It changes everything, right? So let's get back to this. You can spend your whole life, this is what Vadim Zeland says in Reality Transfer, and I took the quote. You can spend your whole life battling to prove your worth. And yet the moment you let go of the battle, you acquire it. The moment you stop trying to prove your worth, the world agrees that you're worthy. Do you hear this? You get it when you stop trying to get it. We don't get this from a 3D perspective. Everything becomes a battle and a fight and trying to prove ourselves, trying to prove we're right, trying to prove that, that we have the best. It could even be like that comment we got on the channel a few days ago, trying to prove that this person's right or this person's wrong or this method's right or this method's right. It's all right. It's all good. Stop fighting it. When you recognize and embrace your true value, and the truth of who you really are, the world will too. The world mirror will say, I see that too. Do you hear that? But the world mirror will only consolidate around the image of that you're creating. That will reflect in the 3D world. So as you resist, as you try to improve yourself, as you reach for confidence, as you reach for self-worth, as you try to make yourself not guilty, right? Then the 3D mirror the world mirror reflects that. It reflects that fight. Instead, just let it all go. Recognize your true value and the truth of who you are, and the mirror will too. Let go of the struggle for worthiness and just accept it as a truth, a knowing. Stop trying to prove yourself. Stop trying to justify yourself. Stop apologizing for yourself. Stop judging yourself. Just silently leave the courtroom. That's what Vadim Zeland says. I love that. Just silently leave the courtroom. Then no one will judge you. There's nothing left to protect or to prove when you silently leave the courtroom. You don't have to defend yourself anymore. You don't have to prove yourself. You don't have to justify yourself. You just silently leave the courtroom. Wow, that's powerful. So it's not about trying to believe, trying to have faith, or trying to have confidence, or trying to be worthy. It's none of that. It's simply about your an intention and choice to have what you want, to be what you want. That's your God-given gift, right? It's a knowing. And this is so Vadim Zeland again talks about coordination, and I've summarized it for you here, right? Let go of the strings of importance and walk on your own. You see the strings here? The strings just fall down, and then you walk on your own. What does that mean? 1, take pleasure in imagining your wish fulfilled. Enjoy the process. Enjoy the path, right? But don't steer down at the path. Imagine your wish fulfilled and enjoy the scenery along the way, right? Let go of trying to control the world or the script or anything else. Let go of the world by the throat, right? See everyone or in everything, in every event on your path as leading you to all you want, right? Discern, don't judge. Hear this, it's about discernment. It's not about being a doormat for everything. It's about discernment, right? You discern, you don't judge. You see every event as leading you on your path. You don't see any event as getting in your way or as negative, right? Because remember, you create it as you discern it. So don't judge, discernment, right? Go with the flow of that higher power. Go with source energy, or what Vadim Zeland calls the alternatives flow, right? Go with that. It's going to lead you to everything you want. It's a true calm confidence, right? The real confidence that can't be shaken. It's an inner state that requires nothing from the outside world. That's true confidence. It requires nothing from the outside world. That's how to master your inner authority and become unshakable. I am your host, Tom Kieran, and this is the Be Something Wonderful studio of Higher Consciousness, where we help you level up and become the best version of yourself. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the notification button, like and share our videos. That's how we get our message out. Share our videos in the channel on YouTube, on your social media, on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, with your friends and family. That's how we grow. You can follow us on Facebook at Be Something Wonderful, on Instagram and Twitter at Tom Kieran. You can visit our website at tomkieran.com or besomethingwonderful.com, or you can write me anytime at info@besomethingwonderful.com. I always love to hear from you. Until next time, with great love and great light, see you soon.